What if I told you there was a priest who could see your sins before you confessed them? A man who bled from the wounds of Christ every single day for 50 years. A man who fought demons physically. And here's the part that will shock you the most. At one point, the church itself tried to silence him. Why? What did they see that made them afraid? And what did he experience that most people could never survive? This is not just a story. This is a mystery that still hasn't been fully explained. This is the supernatural life of Padre Pio. In a world where everything must be proven, measured, explained, stories like this feel almost impossible. And yet, they happened. Not in ancient times, not in some forgotten legend, but in the 20th century. Photographed, documented, investigated, and still debated. For Catholics, Padre Pio is more than a saint. He is a sign that the supernatural world is not just real, but closer than we think. But before we talk about the miracles, we need to understand the man, because his story doesn't begin with glory. It begins with something far more disturbing. The year was 1887. In a quiet village called Pietrelcina, Italy, a child was born into a poor farming family. His name was Francesco Forgione. Nothing about his surroundings suggested greatness. No wealth, no influence, no power, just simplicity. But something unusual began to happen very early. As a child, Francesco claimed he could see angels. He spoke to them as if they were standing right beside him. But here's the part most people don't talk about. He didn't just see angels. He saw something else. Dark figures, terrifying presences. And they didn't just appear. They attacked. Why would a child be targeted like this? What was so important about him? That answer would only become clear years later. Most children fear the dark. Francesco lived in it. At night, his room would become a battlefield. He would scream, cry, struggle. His family couldn't understand. They saw a child in distress, but Francesco knew something they didn't. This was not imagination. This was war. And somehow, he kept choosing God again and again and again. But the attacks didn't stop. They grew stronger, which raises a chilling question. Was this suffering preparing him for something greater? At just 15 years old, Francesco made a decision that would define his life. He entered the Capuchin order, a life of poverty, prayer, silence. He took the name Pio in honor of Pope Pius V. But even in the monastery, the supernatural didn't leave him. It intensified. His fellow friars noticed something strange. Pio would fall into deep prayer, completely unaware of his surroundings, sometimes for hours, sometimes longer. And then came the moment no one expected. It was 1918. Padre Pio was alone, praying before a crucifix, silent, still, focused. Then suddenly, something happened, something he would never fully explain. Pain shot through his body, sharp, piercing, unbearable. When he looked down, there was blood from his hands, from his feet, from his side, the wounds of Christ, stigmata. But here's what makes this even more mysterious. The wounds didn't heal, not in a day, not in a week, not in a year. For over 50 years, they remained bleeding, visible, real. Doctors were called, investigations began, and what they discovered only created more questions. You might expect the church to celebrate something like this, but that's not what happened. Instead, there was suspicion, caution, even fear. Was this truly from God or something else? At one point, Padre Pio was restricted. He was told not to publicly celebrate Mass, not to interact freely. Imagine carrying the wounds of Christ and being told to step back, to stay silent, to wait. Most people would resist, but he didn't. And that's where the real story begins. Despite the restrictions, people kept coming. Hundreds, then thousands. Why? Because something extraordinary was happening inside the confessional. Padre Pio could see into souls. Not metaphorically, literally. People would kneel down, ready to confess, and before they spoke, he would name their sins, the ones they remembered, and the ones they tried to forget. Some were shocked, some were afraid, some walked away, but many stayed, and left transformed, because for the first time in their lives, they felt truly seen, not by a man, but by God. And then, the stories became even harder to believe. People claimed to see Padre Pio in places he had never physically been. A soldier during World War II reported seeing him in the sky, stopping a bombing. A sick woman claimed he appeared at her bedside while he remained in his monastery. Bilocation, to places, same time, impossible, or something beyond human understanding. Even today, no one can fully explain it, but behind the miracles, there was suffering, deep suffering. Padre Pio described violent encounters with demons, not symbolic, physical. He was beaten, thrown from his bed, left bruised, and yet, he never asked for it to stop. Why? Because he believed something most people struggle to accept, that suffering, when united with Christ, has purpose. But how much suffering can one person endure? And what kept him going? One day, someone asked Padre Pio, "How do you endure all of this?" His answer was simple, almost too simple. Prayer, not power, not visions, not miracles, just a prayer and trust. He once said, "Pray, hope, and don't worry." But behind those words was a life of unimaginable sacrifice. After decades of pain, the end came quietly. Padre Pio was weak, tired, but peaceful. His final words, "Jesus, Mary," and then silence. But what happened next stunned everyone. The wounds, the ones that had bled for 50 years, disappeared completely. No scars, nothing, as if they had never existed. Why would God remove them at the end? That mystery remains. The Catholic Church approaches stories like Padre Pio's with caution, because not every supernatural claim is authentic. Discernment is essential, but after years of investigation, the Church recognized His holiness. He was canonized in 2000 by Pope John Paul II. His life echoes the words of St. Paul, "I bear on my body the marks of Jesus," Galatians 6:17. The Catechism of the Catholic Church teaches that God gives special graces charisms not for personal glory, but to build up the Church. CCC 799-801. Padre Pio's gifts were not about spectacle, they were about salvation, about bringing souls back to God. So what does this mean for you? Because chances are, you won't receive the stigmata, you won't bilocate, you won't read souls, but you will suffer, you will struggle, you will face moments where God feels distant. And that's where Padre Pio's life becomes personal. He shows us that holiness is not about extraordinary experiences. It's about faithfulness in the ordinary, choosing God when it's hard, trusting Him when it hurts, and praying even when you feel nothing. Today, many people doubt the supernatural. Angels, demons, miracles. They sound like myths, but Padre Pio lived in our time, and his life forces us to ask, what if we're wrong? What if the spiritual world is not just real, but active? Even now, thousands travel to San Giovanni Rotondo, not just to remember him, but to encounter God. Because his story didn't end in 1968. It continues in every soul that returns to faith. Padre Pio's life is not just about miracles. It's about surrender, complete, total surrender. He was tested, doubted, attacked, and yet he remained faithful. So maybe the real question is not, how did he live like this? But, what is God asking of you? Because holiness is not reserved for saints in history. It's a calling for you, right now. If this story touched you, pause for a moment. Reflect. Where is God in your life right now? And are you trusting Him, even in difficulty? Comment below. Pray, hope, and don't worry. And share your thoughts. Do you believe miracles like this still happen today? If you want more powerful Catholic stories that strengthen your faith, subscribe now, because sometimes the greatest proof of God is not what we can explain, but what we cannot.